And suddenly, when I got a radio show playing metal in '83, I started playing some of these records that Johnny would sell me. So to show you the passion of Johnny Z, my first year in radio, I'm on the air, and I get a knock on the door late at night. And I pull the curtain, and who's there but Johnny Z in the rain at 11 o'clock at night at my studio in New Jersey. And I said to him, Johnny, what are you doing here? He goes, you gotta let me in. I was live on the radio. And Johnny comes in, and I said, what's up? And he said to me, Ed, he goes, I got this band. I leveraged everything on this band to make it. And I put my life on the line for this band, and I need this band to be played on the radio. And I said, well, listen, man, just leave the record, I'll have a listen to it, and if it's good, I'll play it on next week's show. He goes, no, I'm not leaving till you play this record. So, I'm like, I gotta get this guy out of the studio. I'm 18, I'm nervous, I'm like, what's going on? This guy's giving me a hard time. So I said, John, what's the record? And he takes the record out of the bag, and this is the exact record, because I kept it, and here's a photo of that record that'll come up on the screen here in a second. So I played Jump in the Fire that night, and I'm proud to say I was one of the first people to play Metallica on the radio. And Johnny wrote, as you can see on the record, to Ed for breaking metal on the airwaves, Johnny Z. So I still have that record to this day. It means a lot to me. And I played the record, and I gotta be honest with you, I didn't know what I heard. You know, in '83, hearing that, it was like, what the fuck was that? And as he left and wrote that on the record, he came up to me and he said, if I can ever get this band to happen and to make it, I'm gonna hire you to work for my record company. And I looked at him like, yeah, like that band's ever gonna make it? Like anyone's gonna play Metallica on the radio? No way, I'm never getting that job. Well, a couple of years later, I start seeing Metallica on the Jersey clubs. I start seeing him opening for bands in clubs. Then I see him start headlining clubs and get bigger and bigger. And the next thing you know, Johnny calls me up and he says, Ed, I got good news for you. He said, obviously Metallica's well on their way. He goes, and I'm gonna offer you a job. And he was to his word, and I began 4 years of amazing experiences with John and MARSHA. Initially, my office was in his living room, sitting next to his daughter's crib, and we just built the company from there. Went to England for the first time with him. They were wonderful people, passionate people, and as you can see from that story, they cared so much about their bands, and they would never give up, and Metallica was the first through the gate. And John and MARSHA mean so much to me, and obviously so much to Metallica, and so much to so many of the people in this room, including all of us fans, but including some of my co-workers and people, other artists that were on Megaforce that are here in the building tonight. So I want to give a big, sincere thanks to the Metallica guys. Metallica, let me tell you guys, as you know, but I've got the pleasure of knowing them for a very long time. So much respect because they never fucking forget where they came from, and that is amazing. So I know you want to get some music going on this stage, but you're seeing a very special show tonight, folks. Where are the old school Metallica fans? Let me tell you something. Your mind is going to be blown because this night is all about the first two records. And it's all about paying tribute to John and MARSHA Z and Megaforce Records. So with that in mind, I direct your attention to the screens because here is Metallica themselves talking about the importance of Johnny and MARSHA. Have a look.
The spring of 1983, and we had just moved up to San Francisco. We got a call and an invitation from a very enthusiastic Johnny ZAZULA, who was in New Jersey.
I remember going out at the El Cerrito house, the McDonald Mansion, going around to a phone booth with Lars and him talking to Johnny over the phone. And you know, he's like, yeah, I just connected with this guy who got on tape, and you know, back then tape trading was the thing. That's how you got your music around. Just remember talking on the phone with him, and Lars just saying, hey, you know, this guy in New Jersey really likes us, and he wants to, like, he's passionate about us, and it feels great, it feels right.
We were ready for whatever at that time. Threw all our shit in a U-Haul truck. Spent about a week going across the country, and ended up in Old Bridge, New Jersey.
We'd never met him, never seen him, nothing. And we hop in this U-Haul and go out, and I remember when we pulled up to his house, eventually, one of the first things we had to tell him was, hey, we're here, and we're getting rid of our lead guitar player. You know, he's like, okay, you know, well, let's keep going. We share the same vision, so it felt absolutely right at the time.
Well, when I first arrived to the music building, I remember meeting this guy, the rest of the guys in the band, and we started rehearsing right away. We rehearsed 2 or 3 days, and then someone saying, yeah, Johnny, he's the guy who's starting the record label, who's signing us. And, you know, and so we're going to go out to the store for the first time out in New Jersey, rock and roll heaven. So we all piled in the car, and then the very first picture I took with the band was out that day out in the parking lot after seeing Johnny and MARSHA at Rock and Roll Heaven. And at some point it just became intolerable to stay at the music building. There was no hot water, no heat, it was wintertime, it was snow, it was horrible. So we all moved into Johnny's house, into the basement, and that was something.